So maybe others will also join us. They are doing so. Let's start in that case with the presentation of naturalism in America.
Okay,
By the
I will
way,
start with.
yes, have you tried to differentiate between the naturalism and realism?
Yes, I will speak
Okay,
somehow about it as well.
great in that case. So you may start. This is
Okay, the period of naturalism in American literature has begun in 1870s and it lasted till the middle of 1900s. The difference between the realism and naturalism is that realism emphasizes the depiction of a life as it is lived. It means the literature of realism illustrated all the actions, all the things which happened and without any exaggeration or without any cheating. However, in naturalism, the writers or authors tried to emphasize on brutal aspects of existence. It means in the times of naturalism, the literature experienced the brutal times, the times of hardships and difficulties of life to the local people and the people living in the country. Uh, the natural the naturalism has appeared in France. The person who led to the appearance of naturalism was the French novelist and journalist who was Émile Zola, and she was considered to be the founder of naturalism times. The naturalism applies scientific principles of objectivity to its study of human beings. And it is based on the series of French critic, as I told, Émile Zola. And the times of naturalism were inspired by Charles Darwin and Thomas Huxley, and it depicts the man with the conflict of society, within conflict of with humanity and even himself. It means in the literature of naturalism, people or heroes of stories or novels sometimes or usually they fight with inner thoughts or the politics of governmental politics and governmental position of that time. While naturalism was a philosophy, it began in France, and it is considered to be the extreme form of realism, and it is influenced by the Darwin theory and social conditions which shaped human character. So there is a question: why did naturalism develop? There are several reasons why it was so. The first and foremost was about the immigration of people to America in the latter half of 19th century, and which lead to the appearance of larger lower classes. Um, by this, there was a recession and people lived in difficulties and hardships. At that time, there was a crisis um, which led to the appearance of poverty in many cities of country. At that time, there was a pessimistic views of people about the civil wars and reconstructions, and also the prominence of psychology and the theories of Sigmund Freud led to the development of naturalism at that time. There are several characteristics of naturalism. First, it is about the pessimistic, as I told, the pessimistic views of people. At that time, If in realism people told everything what they thought, what they experienced, in realism people were so pessimistic that they were afraid of explaining their own views and their ideas about the uh, up, um, um, uh, about the social how to say social status or social position of the country. Next, it was about the poor education and lower class government by force of heredity, instinct, and passion. At that time, people were out of mind or about the explaining or illustrating their ideas in newspapers or in front of the governmental authorities. For this reason, it was naturalism um, explained brutality of that time. Next, it's about urban setting. At that time, as I told, there was an immigration to America, which led to appearance of many lower classes, which led to the crisis. There are several principles of naturalism. First, it is about in literature, the authors depicted objective life and the description of it. Next is about inevitable working out of natural forces. People had to work out of time. I mean, without any schedule, very severe time with very severe timetables, and people couldn't explain the authority, the government, that they were really tired of that governmental position. Next is about people thought that everything was written. Their destiny was written by environment, by physical drives, and economic circumstances. It's not. They didn't have any um, rights to tell what is going on in the government. Next is about naturalism is the total opposite of romanticism and transcendentalism. They depicted nature as a holy and mystical, while naturalism, it is a total opposite and depicted the nature as a very severe condition, as the place of very severe conditions. And the last, the naturalism doesn't focus on nature's influence. There are the several themes of naturalism. In the literature of naturalism, the writers tended to depict how people survived in that times, what kind of aims and goals they had in their lives, how nature was in different force acting in human lives, and how brute within strong emotions conflicts with the man or nature itself. And mostly, as I talked about, its violence, brutality, and deterministic universe, the aims of people, and inability of people to express their free will. There was no freedom of choice at that time, and forces of heredity and environment as they affect the individuals. Here, I want to say that the first and the vivid member of naturalism was Upton Sinclair with his work, which is called The Junk, where he depicted how poor workers in Chicago's industry survived at that times. And in this work, Upton Sinclair wanted to depict the cruelty of larger forces as well. And the last, I want to say that here in the picture there are several members, or how members of naturalism. They were Stephen Crane, Theodore Dreiser, Jack London, and Frank Norris. And I think that's all what I want to say today.
Okay, thanks a lot, Nabahar, for giving a lot of information about naturalism. And I think others could have a picture about what is naturalism and what is the difference between naturalism and realism. So, Anya, can you ask one question, the comprehension of the audience from your part? Okay?
Okay. Do you guys remember who is the founder of naturalism and where it appeared?
France. And it was Emile Rose, yes, you said?
Yes, Emile Zola.
Emile?
Yes. Great. Okay. Who is answering? Sahiba, yes. Sahiba. Okay, then this was
Anna Khan.
Okay, I really liked the presentation. It was clear and very convenient for me to lead to follow Nabahar's speech. And I also liked your
teacher,
speech because
sorry, it was Anya.
sorry, Anya. Yes, I'm so sorry. Yeah, this is also one of the disadvantage of online teaching, because
Yes.
in this kind of mode you are not aware of all the group members. I'm so sorry, Anya. Thanks a lot. So, and the next presenter.
Now I guess it's turn of Nabahar. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm so wondered about the members. They were here, but after rejoining, they disappeared.
Maybe they had some internet connection problems.
Yes, Mahbouba wrote to me that she has problems with her megabytes, and till tomorrow she will try to fix it, but others didn't inform about anything.
We'll say that
Okay, now Bahar, let's continue in that case.
Okay. Well, I would like to talk about Jack London.
By the way, haven't you made a map on Kaggle.it?
we have tried to do a different thing this time, I guess, yes?
Are you talking to me or to Nabahar? Sahiba made a map, right?
No. This time we, with Irada, tried to work on our presentation. In this time, it consists of only pictures.
Only pictures. Okay, maybe next time you will make it on Kaggle.it, okay?
We'll try it, yes, for sure.
Yes, I think it's very good for you to enlarge your technology skills with working with different kind of platforms. So Nabahar, this is your turn. You may start.
Okay. Well, Jack London was an American author and journalist who is widely known for his adventure novels like White Fang, The Call of the Wild, and Martin Eden. Actually, Jack London is not his real name. His real name is John Chaney. He got his last name London from his stepfather. Jack London was born in 1876, January 12th, in San Francisco State, California. He grew up in a working class family, and he didn't have opportunity to study. He had to drop out of school at the age of 14, and he worked in different jobs just to escape the poverty. He also never knew his father because his father left the family. And later, her mother married a Civil War veteran who was John London. Well, Jack London was a really ambitious boy, and even though he wasn't able to continue his studies, whenever he had free time, he would spend it in libraries, reading different books in different spheres like science, literary books. He was very interested in writing, and in his younger years, he started working as a sailor in a ship. And one of his sailings, there was a typhoon, and he barely got to his home. And when he was at home, he shared all his emotions, all his feelings. He talked about everything to his mother. And then another day, when his mother saw an announcement about writing contest, she pushed to write down all the things that he went through. So he decided to participate in this contest, and luckily he won $25 prize. And even the students who participated in this contest, who were the students of Berkeley, the Stanford, couldn't won, but he made it. Then Jack London was interested. Are you listening to me?
Yes, yes, you are
Yes,
listening.
we are
I'm
listening.
just illustrating the picture in order to make it easier for the audience to have a picture of Jack
Yeah,
London.
I had a PPT, but I don't know how to view it on my phone because I'm using my phone now.
You may send it to the group or to me. It's better to send to the group, and others will get a chance to look through it when they have a time.
Okay. Then I will send it when I finish it, okay?
Okay,
Because
yes. You may send.
it's not so long.
Okay, okay. Just you may continue now, but after finishing, you may send it.
Okay. Well, Jack London, where I stop?
He won $25 in writing contest.
$25, yeah, in writing contest. And after this, he realized that he had to continue writing, and it's his dream job, and he wants to write to the rest of his life. And then he starts reading all the books about writing, about all the details, elements of writing, and he learns all this by himself in libraries. Then, while working as a sailor, he goes through different situations, and from his situations, he starts writing different stories, including horror stories, including anecdotes and other kind of genres. Then Jack London marries a woman named Bess, and but this marriage wasn't built on love, because they never loved each other, but they just knew that they had to have a family, they had to have children, and that's why they decided to get married. After having 2 daughters, they divorced because they didn't have anything in common. So after a year of divorce, he marries another woman whose name is Charlize, Charlize Kittredge. But this time, he spends the rest of his life with that woman. And even though he writes lots of stories, lots of novels, he never gets too famous because he thought that he can get lots of money by writing, but it never happened. Even though his writings were famous, he was one of the famous novelists of his time. He couldn't live the life he dreamed about. So at the age of 27, his novel, The Call of the Wild, gives him a bit success, but it doesn't last long. And after this, he writes rest of his books, novels. But even though he writes constantly, he's not getting the recognition he deserves. So he gets like, he starts drinking and he involves in different situations where he's, well, what I mean, his life gets not so good at the end. And he also finds out that he has a kidney disease, and at the end he dies from this disease in 1916. But recently I finished the book Martin Eden, but I didn't know that it was written by Jack London. I just was interested in this book, and now I know that Jack London and the main character of the book, they are very similar to each other in the ways that they both wanted to achieve something, and they both were from poor family, and they wanted to get recognition from their writings. But at the end, the main character, Martin Eden, realizes that not everything was just imagination, and he thinks that he is not able getting everything he wanted, and he ends his own life. And I was really amazed reading this book. This book was about a man who was from poor family, but he wanted to be like other families where people got education, where people always talked about religion, talked about different cultures. He thought that it is this kind of people he wanted to be with, and he meets a girl, and he thinks that this is the girl of his, like, this is the girl that he always dreamed of. He thinks that he can be happy if he reaches this kind of life where everything is good, and well, everyone is like intelligent, and he thinks that intelligence is the main thing. But when he starts to learn everything by himself, when he starts to meet different people with different intelligence, he understands that not all the people are like clever and smart. He realizes that most of the people he started to meet are just the product of society, and they just follow other people's rules. And by this, he ends his life with suicide. I think that's the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nabahar, I think that you have a deep interest in literature, yes?
Yes.
It's visible from your speech, and I really recommend you choosing for your diploma work literary theme, yes?
Yes.
I don't know whether you have interest in methodology, but I believe that you may make a great job in literature.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for a great presentation. Not presentation, but you will send it.
Yeah, I will
I
send it.
believe that you made it very perfectly. So your both speech and your presentations are very great and very informative for others to learn something, and especially this lesson about Jack London. So time to check the comprehension. So let's ask one question.
Most responsible time.
What?
The most responsible time.
Sorry?
This is the most responsible time, I guess.
Yes. Because we will check who is listening carefully, but every time I'm wondering that Sahiba is very attentive listener because she answers all the time. But this time I think others also listen very cautiously. No, everybody listens carefully, but Sahiba is the first every time to answer.
Has a good memory. Really
I
great
catch
memory.
details.
Yes.
Everyone has talents and in your group. So the question about
Well, the question is, Jack London died from one disease, and what
Kidney
disease it
disease.
was?
Kidney disease.
Yeah, kidney disease. That's right.
From suicide as well.
let's
From
ask
suicide,
about
Martin.
the professional life.
Professional life.
Yes.
Well,
All
let
of
me
the
think.
wild.
I mentioned his three main novels, and who can name at least one? No, at least
Martin
two.
Eden. Martin Eden.
Call
Call
of
of
the
the
Fang.
Wild.
White
White
Fang.
Fang.
Martin Eden.
and
Yeah.
Call of the Wild.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
right.
girls. Thanks a lot for active participation, and thank you, Nabahar, for you as well. So next presenters, can you make it faster because we have only 10 minutes left?
Yes.
Okay, I guess we can manage. Irish?
Yes. Can you please allow me to show my screen?
I will stop mine. Now you can.
Okay, 1 moment. So, that's here.
This time also Sahiba and Diroda are partners. Yes.
We are partners forever.
In life as well. Maybe you will be have it awesome.
Oh, I'm not sure about it.
Okay.
Good better not know it.
Nobody knows what will happen.
So today our topic is about Theodore Dreiser, and we're gonna give information about his biography, his background, and professional life as well. And I'm gonna start talking about his background information. And well, first of all, let me express my own opinion about this writer because he impressed me, since not every writer is able to show the real truth of what is happening in the world, but he is the one who was not afraid to do that, even if he knew something wrong would happen to him. And well, talking about his life, Theodore Dreiser is an American novelist and journalist. He was born on August 27 in 1871 in Indiana. He is the 12th child out of 13, and that's not shocking for that time, I think. And talking about his the movement that he followed, that was the movement of naturalists. That's our main topic for today. And why people consider him as one of the leaders of this naturalistic movement is that, as I told before, he depicted the real truth of the life. And this is what naturalism is. Well, he studied in school in Warsaw, Indiana, and then he studied in Indiana University. And that's it about his background shortly. Now let's move
Okay.
on to
Yes. Let's speak about his career now. So right after graduating from the university, he started his professional career, and this was in the year 1892. And he began working as a newspaper reporter. And this happened when he was in Chicago. After 2 years, in 1894, he moves to New York and he begins working not only for one newspaper, but he worked for several ones, plus not only newspapers, but also magazines. And after 5 years, approximately in 1899, one of his colleagues suggests to write a novel to him. And right after this, he decides to write his first novel called Sister Carrie. And after this, let's say some time passes, and then he again changes his place of living and then becomes, let's say, successful. And this success can be, let's say, proven by his position. He becomes editor, quite well-known editor, and mostly he deals in the field of magazines for women. However, after the situation when information about his romantic relationship with the daughter of the boss gets revealed, he was made to resign, and because of this, he leaves the job, and then, let's say, he is engrossed into writing only. Now I would like to mention about his notable works.
Oh, well, let me talk about the very first novel that she wrote, and Stacy Sahiba mentioned about that. This is the novel called Sister Carrier. Sister Carrier was written in 1919th, and let me tell you one fact. When he wrote this novel for the first time, this novel was rejected by the publisher because it was very shocking and strange for that times, you know, what kind of times these were. And after that, he had to change, he had to alter the book in order to make it published, and this book finally was published in the year that is shown there. And let me talk about the plot shortly. Here is the main heroine called Carrie Meiber, and Carrie Meiber is a maximalistic woman because she wants everything immediately, and she wants like success, wealth, everything, like money. And because of this desire, she wants to leave her country, which is in poverty. She leaves her country, and then she has a lot of relationship with different men. She tries to be faithful, but this is unfortunately unfortunate. And after that, after some time, she becomes successful. She gets everything what she wanted. She becomes a successful actress, but at the very end, she realized that money, success, and everything she wanted is not the real key to happiness. She understands it at the very end, and this is the moral of the story. The moral is that happiness is not in money, happiness is not in success, in fame, but happiness is in people we love and in some minor details. That's shortly. Let's move on to
The following novel is called American Tragedy, and this novel is a complex novel, and it's mostly about the topic of life and death in general. Also, it touched the topic of materialism as well as American success, what it takes to succeed in American life in general and in USA in general. The main hero, actually I can call him as anti-hero, is Clyde Griffins, the person who strives for success, and on his way to success he even dares to get rid of any kind of obstacle. For example, when he realizes that her girlfriend gets pregnant, he accepts it as, let's say, the greatest problem and even dares to kill her. However, again, he gives up the idea with murdery But anyway, the girl dies later, and finally he gets accused of murdering anyway. Even for the idea of thinking about it, probably he gets trial and meets the court. And the main idea, the main plot of this novel is that this life of Clyde was destroyed with his own, let's say, internal feelings as well as forces. And again, the main idea here is materialism, this American success. The following
The next one is gonna be The Financier, and probably from its name, it's like possible to predict what kind of novel is this. This novel is one of the novels which is included into the trilogy of Desire. He has a trilogy of Desire. That's a huge work that consists of 3 novels, and this one is the first novel that is included into this. And here in The Financier, he writes about the corruption, about the politicians, about the corruption that was very, let's call it like popular at that times. Here, yes, here the main character is Frank, and Frank is the same like politician that works for money, that works for wealth only. And at the end, he of course fails because probably all of the writers want to show the moral of the story, and all of the writers want to teach something. And here, our writer tells that, again, like money and all that stuff is not the main happiness in our life. And
the
let's speak about the
last novel is called Jenny Gerhardt, and this novel is again about the state and position of life of working class. So the story is about Jenny, about a woman that let's say doesn't mind to have uncontrolled relationship by several people at the same time, just to have some better life.